You're about to see some of the most famous faces in the world either transforming on camera or admitting to shapeshifting.
I think capable of shapeshifting a little bit more than your average person.
This is not just a claim. Look at this.
Is that a gang sign?
Oh, like you don't know what it is.
And moments like these.
Because of the violence.
So sit back and be prepared to be shocked by the absolute insanity of what has been unfolding in front of our eyes all along.
Everybody comes to realize this is all about the IRGC.
I want to really, yeah.
During a recent live appearance, Donald Trump's expression suddenly twisted mid-sentence, his tongue jutting out, hands shooting up and shaking as his voice dropped into a different tone entirely. For a moment, it looked less like a speech and more like something taking over his body on stage. The clip spread fast online, with some viewers believing he looked possessed. Distorted face. Julie Chen Moonves, longtime host of Big Brother, was live on air announcing a house guest's elimination when her face suddenly seemed to blur and shift. Her skin took on an uneven, almost glowing texture, and her expression froze mid-sentence before smoothing back into place as she kept talking. The moment passed so quickly that most viewers needed to watch it again to catch it. When the clip spread online, viewers debated this clip as a real transformation caught live. Glitched behavior.
Did you talk about vice presidential possibilities?
9 years ago, Hillary Clinton stood before reporters, answering questions from the press, when something unusual happened. Her head suddenly moved in quick, jerky motions that didn't look like a natural reaction. Immediately, she turned the moment into laughter, throwing her head back as if she were joking with the people around her. But to many viewers, the movement before the laugh looked mechanical, as if she were not a human being, and she glitched before being covered with a smile.
And how would you assess her water?
Masked man.
Everybody comes to realize this is all about the IRGC.
Robert Harwood, a retired American vice admiral, appeared on Real America's Voice during an interview about Iran in Las Vegas, Nevada. Suddenly, his neck looked strange, loose skin bunching oddly near his collar, like a mask edge slipping out of place. Viewers insisted he wasn't fully human underneath. When he was asked directly, he brushed it off, calling the whole theory a distraction to pull attention away from the real Iran conversation. Still, many were not convinced. But what do you think?
Exporting the Islamic Revolution throughout the region caused...
Reptilian politician.
And to increase screenings and to make sure that people are actually going.
Kamala Harris took her seat behind Joe Biden during a live Fox News address. And as she settled into the chair, her expression shifted, her skin taking on a darker, uneven tone, her eyes sinking into a hollow, glassy stare. Weeks later, during a separate interview, she touched her ear, adjusting something that wasn't there. No earpiece, no wire, just her fingers pressing against skin, as if holding something back. Viewers who caught both clips online were convinced it wasn't nerves at all, but something was hiding inside her body.
Our schools were robbed of so much.
Reptilian celebrity. A man in Houston, Texas, was watching an old interview with Angelina Jolie when something on screen made him pause. Mid-sentence, her eyes seemed to shift in vertical slits before settling back to normal as she carried on speaking without missing a word. Startled, he clipped the moment and posted it on TikTok, convinced he'd caught something reptilian hiding behind her calm expression. Most viewers who saw it brushed it off as an edited clip. Baphomet signs. During a live TV segment with John Legend, Esperanza Spalding wore an orange jumpsuit. At one point, she made a sharp hand gesture that some viewers thought resembled symbols associated with Baphomet. The clip spread quickly online, and people began debating whether the gesture was intentional or just a natural movement. A week later, another clip appeared showing a similar gesture, which made some viewers even more convinced. Jim Carrey's disturbing claim. At the César Awards in Paris, cameras caught something people are still talking about. Jim Carrey looked different, sounded different, and for a split second, his eyes seemed to change color on camera. Then he lifted his hands and formed a triangle shape around his mouth, a gesture many online linked to the Illuminati. Days later, a clip resurfaced of him saying that the real Jim Carrey no longer exists and that he's just a character now.
I don't exist, so they're all characters that I've played, including Jim Carrey, including Joel Barish, including any of those things. They're all characters.
Strange behavior. At the Oscars, cameras zoomed in on Nicole Kidman acting a little off. She pushed her hair back slowly, then jerked her head like she was hiding something in her eyes. For a second, her mouth opened slightly, almost unnatural, before she locked her stare straight into the camera and walked off laughing, as if she was covering up something she was trying to hide. Viewers online think it was nerves, while others believe she was a reptilian disguised as a human. Slit eyes. During a live Rammstein performance, cameras zoomed in tight on frontman Till Lindeman's face as he leaned into the microphone, sweat dripping under the stage lights. For a brief moment, his eyes darkened and his pupils narrowed into thin vertical slits, nothing like a normal blink or trick of lighting. Online, many started calling him a reptilian, feeding off the crowd's energy, growing stronger with every scream from the audience. Giorgia Meloni's transformation. During a NATO press event, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni's eyes darted sideways while speaking to reporters, then suddenly went wide, her lips pressing tight as if forcing something down. Days later, a second clip surfaced, showing her rolling her eyes mid-conversation with President Macron, the motion sharp and unnatural. Then a third moment appeared, this time waiting for Joe Biden, her face twisting into a strained expression before settling back to normal. Viewers were convinced these weren't ordinary reactions, but something inside her straining to stay hidden.
No.
Live shapeshifting. Cynthia Erivo was seen adjusting Ariana Grande's necklace during a red carpet interview for Wicked. Weeks later, she stepped in to shield Grande from a pushy fan in a crowded street, pulling her close before security even reacted. Then, at another event, she suddenly covered her face with her hands the moment a helicopter passed overhead. During a live performance after that, her hands appeared to stretch longer than any human hand should as she sang. Around the same time, Grande herself stumbled through a live interview, her words oddly mismatched, leaving viewers convinced that neither of them belonged to the human community.
Kind of genius marketing strategy.
Thank you. Bye.
Face turned bizarre.
They didn't have access to medical care or education, schooling. They were living with HIV, and so they were living outside of society's embrace.
6 years ago, Jenna Bush appeared live on TV discussing her book, Anna's Story. Calm and composed. Mid-conversation, her face suddenly warped, the skin rippling into a strange, scale-like texture, her features distorting as if something underneath was pushing to the surface. It lasted only a few seconds before her expression smoothed back to normal, and she continued speaking as though nothing had happened at all. The clip spread online soon after, with viewers convinced they'd caught a reptilian slipping through a live broadcast.
I mean, I obviously learned so much from these kids. I learned from Anna in particular, who has lived an extremely difficult life. I learned to live each day to its fullest.
Reptilian gaze. A man watching the news on TV froze when the camera cut to Sherry Biggs during an official gathering, shaking hands with Donald Trump. For a brief moment, her eyes widened far past normal, their color shifting, her expression twisting into something unsettling, as if she was straining to hold back whatever was showing through. He rewound the clip twice before pulling out his phone and sharing it online, convinced he'd caught a reptilian slipping past its disguise. Strange confession. On the Reclaiming podcast, Sarah Paulson described how her voice can change depending on who she is speaking to, saying even her mother sometimes does not recognize her on the phone.
I remember my mom saying things to me like when I was on the phone with different friends. She's like, I can always tell who you're on the phone with based on how you sound.
To her, this came from years of feeling alone and learning to adjust herself for protection. She framed it as both survival and part of an actor's gift, changing personas to move safely through the world. But online reptilian believers read it another way. To them, shapeshifting to survive was not a metaphor, but a confession hidden in plain sight.
I think capable of shape-shifting a little bit more than your average person, maybe. Not more than your average actor, but maybe more than your average person, which lends itself to some of my creative impulses, choices, and willingnesses.
The eye shift. One Saturday night, a man in Houston, Texas, was watching the news when something about Donald Trump's face caught his attention. One eye had changed color, the pupil shrinking down into a thin, narrow shape, nothing like the other. Trump kept blinking, over and over, as if trying to force it back to normal. But the mismatch stayed just long enough for the man to notice. He couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was underneath had grown tired of hiding, like it wanted to be seen. He recorded the moment and shared it online, claiming he was a reptilian. Transforming magician. On the 10th of March, 2021, a magician stood under bright studio lights during a live TV broadcast, dressed head to toe in a tattered black robe. He lifted both hands to his head, gripping it, and within seconds his face began to change. His skin turned a smooth grayish tone. His eyes sank into large, pale green hollow sockets, and his features flattened into something no longer human. To this day, the audience believed that this magician was actually an alien who revealed its true self live. The strange glance. Back in 2012, Katy Perry was calmly answering questions during an interview about her film Part of Me. In the middle of conversation, her eyes appeared to change for a split second, with her pupils looking narrow and sharp, almost like a reptile's. Then they seemed normal again, and she continued talking without reacting. When the clip spread online, many viewers believed it looked too sudden and clean to be a video glitch, while others stayed unsure about it. Clone of Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, was addressing the public live when cameras caught his hand appearing to show 6 fingers instead of 5, his mouth closing oddly out of sync with his voice. The clip spread fast, with viewers convinced something inhuman had slipped through. Months later, after the Israel-Iran escalation, a new video surfaced of him at a coffee shop with a suspicious cut right before his hands appeared, unnaturally motionless coffee, and unusually smooth, uniform skin. Together, the two clips left people questioning whether he was even real or a clone. Mysterious blink. A video of Justin Bieber appearing in court went viral on YouTube a year ago, and what caught viewers' attention wasn't anything he said, but the way his eyes moved. As he blinked, his pupils darkened into a deep brown, unlike his usual eye color, and he immediately turned his head down, almost as if avoiding the camera on purpose. Later, when the video was shared on YouTube, the viewers were left convinced he'd been caught trying to hide something reptilian behind a lowered gaze. Cloned figure.
0.1 of 1%. There's never been as great a concentration of wealth, including going back to the Great Depression. Right. Ever.
A man sitting idle one Sunday noticed something odd, comparing old press clips of Joe Biden to newer ones. His voice, posture, and even his face looked slightly different between the two moments. He claimed the man in the newer footage wasn't quite the same person, pointing to small changes in his expressions and mannerisms. Online theories even suggested a body double or a clone was standing in his place. But what do you think?
If you need any more proof positive of how bad the economic theories have been, this excess of deregulation, the failure to oversee what was going on, letting Wall Street run wild, I don't think you needed any more evidence than what you've seen now.
Demonic voice. At a rave party thrown by designer Rick Owens in Hollywood, his wife Michelle Lamy stepped up to the microphone in front of a packed crowd. What started as playful ad-libbing quickly turned unsettling. Her voice turned demonic, nothing like her normal speech, as if two voices were fighting to come out of one throat. The crowd kept cheering, unaware that anything was wrong, but the footage that circulated afterward told a different story. Viewers online swore it sounded like something trying to break free from inside her, and that she was straining to hold it back. Joe Biden's acting bizarre.
No matter who wins the next battle for the White House, he or she will likely be working with Ashton Carter. Carter was sworn in as the next Secretary of Defense yesterday. This incident when the Vice President Joe Biden squeezed the shoulders of Carter's wife Stephanie and later seemingly whispered into her ear.
At Ashton Carter's swearing in as Secretary of Defense in Washington, D.C., cameras caught Joe Biden standing behind Carter's wife, Stephanie, resting both hands on her shoulders, then leaning in to whisper something only she could hear. Then people remembered an earlier moment, on the 17th of August, 2016, on a tarmac in New York, when Biden hugged Hillary Clinton for almost 16 seconds straight. She tapped his shoulder twice, a clear signal to let go, but his arms stayed locked around her as if the message never reached him. These clips left viewers wondering if he was a clone, and this might be a software malfunction. Doppelganger.
What about the Met Gala next week? I know we have idol shows in the Met Gala. Do we lose you at the Met Gala? Do we have you at the Met Gala? Do we have you here? Where are you?
I'm sending Zoe Deschanel in my place. Okay? All right. Hi, Zoe. I love you.
Katy Perry laughed on a live American Idol broadcast, joking that her doppelganger, Zooey Deschanel, would be taking her place at the Met Gala this year. It sounded like nothing more than a throwaway joke at the time, but soon after, a woman with her exact face, same eyes, same smile, same voice, appeared in the broadcast, and she was left stunned because the resemblance was so exact that viewers couldn't tell who was actually real.
Is that your sister, Katie?
Oh my God!
Hi, sis.
That's my mom. That's your mom?
Oh, that's your mom?
That's my mom.
Hold on, we gotta get a side-by-side.
Wait, do a side-by-side.
Interview gone wrong. During a 2003 primetime interview with Diane Sawyer, Britney Spears gave answers that sometimes felt disconnected from the questions, leaving viewers confused. Years later, a video she posted sparked even more speculation when she strangely claimed she was turning 5 and that her real age was not what people believed.
It's my birthday. I'm not turning 42. I'm turning 5 this year. I'm turning 5 years old.
Online, fans compared both clips and questioned what they had witnessed. Some linked the confusion to Project MKUltra, a secret CIA program from the 1950s to 1970s that studied mind control, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and behavior manipulation through human experiments.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Weird. Hello.
Transforming eyes. Zhana, a Russian television host, sat smiling calmly through a live interview when something shifted for a split second. Her pupils, normally round, narrowed into thin vertical slits, like a reptile's, before smoothing back to normal as if nothing had happened. The moment was brief, easy to miss on a first watch, but once viewers slowed the footage down, the change was unmistakable. Viewers were convinced her calm expression had been hiding something else entirely, and that what flickered across her eyes wasn't human at all. Beyoncé acting strangely. During a live performance, Beyoncé suddenly dropped to all fours on stage, her body low and coiled, as her ponytail whipped around in violent, jerking motions that didn't match the rhythm of the song. Jay-Z, standing nearby, visibly recoiled, taking a step back as if unsure what he was watching. The crowd's cheers turned into gasps within seconds. Viewers were left convinced that something other than a woman had taken the stage that night. Demon inside Cynthia Erivo.
Finished.
During a performance of Jesus Christ Superstar in Hollywood, Cynthia Erivo stood arms outstretched under a cross of lights, playing the role of Jesus, when her voice suddenly dropped into something guttural, nothing like the note she'd been holding. She stopped mid-sentence as smoke curled up from her sides, her head tilting as though she were listening to someone only she could hear, speaking back in hushed words. For a moment, she seemed to forget the crowd was even watching and closed her eyes as if something demonic had left her body.
Spirit.
Resisting the change. On the 8th of March, 2015, during a live podcast with Marco, Nicki Minaj suddenly began acting strangely, her eyes widening far beyond normal, as a sharp hissing sound escaped her lips, unscripted and completely out of nowhere. Her body tensed, her expression shifting between fear and effort, as though she were physically resisting something, trying to surface from underneath. Marco himself looked thrown off, unsure how to respond to a moment nobody had planned for. Viewers who caught the clip online became convinced they'd watched a reptilian mid-transformation, caught live, fighting to stay human just long enough to finish the segment. Glitched celebrities. One Sunday, a man was scrolling through TikTok when she came across two clips that stopped her mid-scroll. In the first, Eminem's expression shifted mid-answer during an interview, his right eye squeezing tight, his mouth hanging slightly open, his gaze locking onto the camera lens far longer than any natural pause. In the second, Kodak Black stopped mid-sentence during an interview, his eyes fixed on one spot in the room while the host kept talking, seemingly unaware he'd checked out entirely. He shared both clips, calling them real-life glitches. Dual persona.
3 years ago, I named my alter ego Sasha, and it's something that stuck. So when I was trying to decide the title of my album, I realized it had two different sounds.
18 years ago, Beyoncé gave a live TV interview that surprised many viewers. She revealed that she had created an alter ego named Sasha, a separate side of herself that emerged whenever she performed on stage.
I try to keep Sasha on the stage.
The name became so well known that her album was built around two identities, Beyoncé and Sasha Fierce. Beyoncé explained that Sasha only appeared during performances.
Absolutely keep Sasha on the stage, and now she has a last name. She's Sasha Fierce.
But the way she described switching between the two made some people wonder whether it was simply a stage persona or something much more mysterious. Satanic ritual. Marilyn Manson, the American musician known for his shock rock persona, stepped onto a concert stage in the early 2000s, dark liquid streaking down his bare chest and face as he tilted his head back under the lights. His body arched as though something inside him was pulling free, and moments later, he leaned into the microphone, eyes hollowed out behind smeared black makeup, his expression twisted into something far more mysterious. The intensity left the crowd unsettled, some calling it theatrical showmanship, others convinced they'd watched a ritual unfold live. Frozen journalist.
How do we view that now in totality?
She lost him. I just found it back.
Rachel Nichols, a prominent NBA sports journalist, stood courtside reporting live after the East Finals when her sentence was suddenly cut off mid-word. Her expression froze completely, eyes fixed forward, mouth still parted from the word she never finished, as though someone had pressed pause on her entirely. Then, just as abruptly, she picked the sentence back up exactly where she'd left it. No stumble, no apology, as if the gap had never happened. Viewers who caught the clip online were convinced that her mind might have been glitched for a while.
I'm here. I'm here.
You can hear me?
I'm back to you, Scott. I'm back.
Can you hear me, Rachel?
I can.
Bizarre file swap. 5 years ago, a strange video went viral on the internet showing Rishi Sunak, the former Prime Minister of the UK. He was normally going to the Parliament carrying a red file in his hand when a bizarre moment was captured by the camera of a news reporter. His file suddenly changed its color to green, which left everyone's jaw dropped. Maybe when he was crossing the car, he exchanged it with someone else. Some commenters suggested that it was a hoaxed video, but what do you think? The tongue slip. During a press conference for the second season of Wednesday, Jenna Ortega sat beside co-star Emma Myers when her posture suddenly changed, her back straightening in one sharp motion, something shifting visibly beneath her chest as if a muscle moved that it shouldn't have. Moments later, her tongue slipped out slowly, controlled in a way that looked deliberate rather than casual, holding just a beat too long before pulling back in. Emma, beside her, seemed unaware that anything unusual had happened. Clips of the moment spread online fast, calling her a reptilian slipping through. Two different selves.
I mean, you know, I have always liked shapeshift.
Right. Well, that's what I wanted to ask you is that what did it feel like to be so stripped down? It's just you. Huge close-ups, no makeup, as you said, your own natural hair. When so many people have got to know you from elaborate costumes that could border on masks or even armor.
Right.
So what's it like to did it ever feel like armor to you? A protection from
Yeah.
the public?
Yeah, I think in my own way.
Lady Gaga sat down for a live television interview and made a claim that caught even her most devoted fans off guard. She said she considers herself a kind of shapeshifter, explaining that the version of herself without makeup is entirely different from the version fans see on stage, painted and transformed. It wasn't said as a joke or a metaphor. Her tone remained calm and matter-of-fact throughout. When the clip surfaced online, viewers debated whether it was simply artistic language about performance and identity or something stranger hidden beneath a very ordinary answer.
But, the thing is that, me without makeup and me with my natural hair, that's not actually me. Like, this is me.
Eyes flicker. Back in 2009, Rihanna sat down for an ABC News exclusive with Diane Sawyer. She looked calm as she answered each question. Then, just for a split second, her eyes changed. Her pupils narrowed into thin, vertical slits, nothing like a normal blink, before smoothing back to how they'd always looked. It happened so fast that most people missed it the first time through. But when the clip made its way back online, viewers slowed it down, and what they saw left them convinced it wasn't just a trick of the camera. Glitching eyes. Fox News host Laura Ingraham was live on air, mid-sentence, when her eyes seemed to glitch for just a brief second. Her eyelids appeared to vanish entirely, leaving her eyes wide and unblinking, before everything snapped back to normal. A man watching her on TV caught the moment and shared it online, convinced it was proof of something reptilian slipping through on live television. But viewers online brushed it off as a camera glitch. Reptilian behind. 9 years ago, a cameraman was filming former Liverpool FC captain Steven Gerrard during a live broadcast when something strange showed up in the background. Standing just behind him was another man, and for a moment, his eyes looked completely wrong, narrow and slit-shaped, nothing close to normal. Gerrard kept talking, unaware of what the camera had caught behind him. Whether it was a camera glitch or something mysterious disguised as a human, you can decide for yourself. Reptilian caught live. Back in 2019, Angela Rye was live on TV alongside Kayleigh McEnany when McEnany's expression suddenly shifted. Her eyes went wide, darting around the room in quick, unnatural movements, nothing like someone simply listening to a conversation. It only lasted a few seconds before she settled back into a normal composure. When the clip made its way online, some were convinced it looked reptilian, while others argued she was just bored. Camera glitch. 2 years ago, a news reporter was covering an event featuring King Felipe VI of Spain at the Royal Palace in Madrid when something odd showed up on screen. His eyes, dark and nearly black at first, seemed to shift into a lighter brown right in front of the camera. No ordinary person changes eye color like that, and the moment left many viewers unsettled once the footage spread. Some brushed it off as nothing more than a trick of the studio lighting, but others argued it was a reptilian. Host hissing. During a live segment of CNBC's Squawk Box, while discussing market data with Joe Kernan, the host beside him suddenly let out a sharp hissing sound.
We have capitalism and we
and turned toward Kernan with an expression that looked nothing like normal conversation. Just as quickly, he turned back to the camera and kept going as if nothing had happened at all. No pause, no explanation. Kernan didn't react, and the broadcast moved on as usual. Later, the video went viral, and viewers were convinced that he was a reptilian, clearly showing his anger by hissing.
Shareholders very well,
yes,
Clarice.
we have
Frozen mid-sentence. On the 26th of July, 2023, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell stood at a press conference on Capitol Hill when he suddenly stopped talking and stared blankly ahead, unmoving, as staff quickly stepped in and guided him away from the cameras. Weeks later, another clip surfaced online showing him freezing again, this time mid-sentence during a separate appearance, his expression blank and unresponsive for several seconds before he continued as if nothing had happened. The repeated moment sparked theories online, with some viewers convinced he wasn't reacting like a living being at all, but something mechanical wearing his face.
All right, I'm sorry, you all, we're going to need a minute.
Bizarre eye movement. On the 27th of October, 2022, Katy Perry performed live in front of a packed audience in Las Vegas when something strange caught the crowd's attention. One of her eyelids stayed completely shut while the other blinked normally, as though whatever controlled that side of her face had simply stopped listening. It looked, for a moment, like she was fighting to keep something from surfacing. She later brushed off the claims, explaining it as a trick. Reptilian bite.
Cannot bite people. That is not okay.
That is assault.
And it's 100% up to her if she wants to pursue charges.
At a fan convention, Cobra Kai actor Martin Kove was confronted by his co-star Alicia Hannah Kim over something strange happened between them. He had bitten her arm, hard enough to leave a visible mark. On camera, she stood her ground, telling him it wasn't okay, while he offered an apology that didn't quite explain the incident itself. Viewers who watched the confrontation online couldn't shake the strangeness of it. The way he seemed almost unaware of the force behind it, as though something instinctive had taken over before he caught himself and returned to being just a man again.
I apologize. I was just playing because we're very playful together, and I bit down too hard.
Mysterious snake ride. On the 30th of December, 2025, Taiwanese pop star Jolin Tsai stood atop a 30-meter mechanical snake during her Pleasure World Tour show in Taipei, its massive head gliding beneath her feet as if it carried its own will. She never looked down, never lost balance, moving with the serpent's motion like the two were reading each other's minds. Fans watching couldn't shake the feeling that it looked something instinctive, as if she and the creature beneath her were the same kind of thing. Open discussion.
You'll be right. You're probably out of shot over there.
During a live COVID briefing, former New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern kept touching her nose, pressing her lips together as if hiding her teeth, her expression shifting rapidly as though she were fighting to keep something from showing on camera. It wasn't an isolated moment. The next day, during a separate press conference, she abruptly pushed her sign language interpreter out of the way without explanation, a jarring, almost mechanical motion that didn't match her usual composed manner. Viewers online were convinced her strange, repeated slips weren't nerves at all, but something underneath straining to stay hidden. But I would like to know your take on it. Before you go, drop in the comments which one got you the most. Your picks help us find the next video. Like, subscribe, and let's keep building the weird side of the world together. Thank you so much for watching. Reptilian exile. He was standing on a street claiming something that most people would have scrolled past in seconds, except his eyes made it impossible to keep scrolling. Almost entirely white, unblinking, fixed forward with a stillness that had no agitation or performance behind it. He said he had been cast out from a civilization living beyond the ice wall, a territory that in flat Earth and certain fringe cartographic traditions is described as existing past the boundary of the known world, kept from public knowledge by coordinated international agreement. The person filming him could not bring themselves to walk away. Face shift. Georgia Maloney was mid-broadcast, a routine piece of political coverage, when her face stopped cooperating with the image it had been presenting. The area around her eye sockets darkened with a heaviness that had no equivalent in any standard broadcast anomaly, like something beneath the surface was applying pressure outward. Her facial proportions shifted briefly but clearly before the image corrected itself and returned to normal as though nothing had interrupted it. Broadcast editors who reviewed the footage noted it specifically because lighting errors and compression glitches do not concentrate themselves with that degree of precision. Fresno Road Crawler. The security camera in Fresno, California, was pointing at an empty road when the figure came into frame on all fours. Low, fast, fluid, moving across the ground in a way that no human being crawls naturally under any circumstance. It covered the road with a speed and fluency that belonged to something built for that movement. Then it reached the other side, came upright without slowing, and walked away on two legs like the previous 10 seconds had been entirely unremarkable. The transition between the two was seamless. Reptilian throat. Most of the footage that exists of Mark Zuckerberg behaving strangely in public settings can be filed under awkward or unconvincing. This clip introduced something that none of those previous moments had managed to produce. During an interview, his throat moved in a shape that sits entirely outside the range of normal human anatomy, visible through the camera and completely undetectable to anyone physically present in that room. No statement followed it. No explanation was offered. For the man who controls one of the largest communications infrastructures on Earth, that is a very considered and very deliberate kind of silence. Floor crawler. He had just walked through his own front door after a completely ordinary day at work, when the figure on the floor stopped him where he stood. A man sitting with his legs twisted underneath him in a way that legs do not naturally rest. Dark, shiny complexion. Pale eyes locked upward with an intensity that did not shift or soften when he was spoken to. Then it moved. Palms flat on the floor, sliding across it toward him without using its legs at all, closing the distance between them with a smoothness that had nothing human in it. He called 911 and stayed on the line until the police arrived and took the figure away. No origin was ever established. Crowded room slip. She was standing in a crowded room full of movement and conversation, and nothing about her suggested she was anything other than someone who belonged there. No one looked twice. No one felt the need to. Then her eyes shifted for a fraction of a second and showed something that lighting conditions and camera compression cannot produce between them. Not in that precise configuration. Not on a single eye, while everything around it stayed completely unchanged. She gave no indication afterward that anything had slipped, didn't look around, didn't adjust, didn't break whatever composure she had been maintaining. Transforming on camera. A woman standing alone inside the lift began changing while the camera watched. Her hairline moved steadily upward across her face, with a consistency that ruled out glitch, ruled out lighting shift, ruled out every category of technical error that produces anomalies in security footage. The person the doors had closed on and the person standing in the same space moments later were not the same. Same clothes, same position, completely different face. Security cameras have no incentive to produce fiction. They record what is in front of them. Terrifying bride. Just a year ago, a strange incident happened in Gujarat, India, when a normal-looking girl turned out to be something otherworldly. As the groom prepared to place a garland around her neck, she suddenly started acting erratically. Her eyes rolled, her face twisted, and her hair became disheveled. It appeared as if she had lost control of her own body, and her brothers were holding her hands to keep everyone safe. The incident was recorded during the wedding, and when the video surfaced online, a commenter claimed that the girl did not want to marry the groom. That's why she was behaving inhumanely. Erratic behavior.
We can't lose that, guys, because we have the right to make grants. We're not going to make any grants.
This video went viral on Facebook back in 2021, showing Elon Musk standing in front of the media at the White House during a press conference. What made the video unusual was his eerie behavior. Suddenly, he looked down, twisted his face, rolled his eyes, and shook his head, as if his body was restless and something inhuman was trying to get out. The video sparked many theories online. Some people claimed he might be reptilian, while others dismissed his actions as normal behavior for someone who feels bored or uninterested during a conversation.
Wants to get to the bottom of the problem. They've acted very well. And
Twisted man. On an ordinary day in an office in Spain, something bone-chilling happened. A black man suddenly stood up from his workstation, bent backward on his palm with his chest facing the ceiling, and began behaving erratically, twisting his body and jumping on the floor as if his bones were made of rubber. Shocked by the sight, a co-worker recorded his behavior and showed him the video later, but he did not remember anything about the incident. Bizarre Uber ride. One night, an Uber driver picked up a passenger from Scarborough Town Centre to take him to his home in Clareville, Brampton. The passenger, feeling tired, fell asleep in the car. Suddenly, he screamed so loudly that he startled the driver, who quickly ended the ride and shouted at him. When the driver shared the video online, some viewers suggested the passenger might have had a nightmare, while others dismissed it as a prank. Watching such videos makes me wonder, why do some people behave in such unusual ways?
What's wrong with you?
Dude, you don't even know what I've been going through.
Sprinting man. A passenger traveling on a train somewhere in Australia captured an unbelievable moment. He was recording the mountain view outside the window when a man suddenly appeared, sprinting alongside the train. What made this video truly astonishing was that the train was moving at 75 miles per hour, yet the man's running speed seemed to match it perfectly. How could a person run that fast? If you have any idea, let me know in the comments below. Clinging man. A shocking video was captured by a passenger on a train in Atlanta, Georgia, when a man suddenly appeared outside, clinging to the train door. The train was running at around 87 miles per hour, yet the man seemed relaxed. When the train stopped at the next station, he came inside, celebrating excitedly as if he had accomplished something great. Was he just an ordinary human doing a publicity stunt, or some otherworldly being who felt no fear of the train's incredible speed?
So it's volume 1.
Frightening stranger. A group of friends was enjoying a ride at Ghibli Park in Japan when one of them decided to record a video. At first, everything seemed normal until a fourth figure appeared behind them, staring directly into the camera with an eerie smile on her face. The camera panned for a moment, and when it shifted back, the mysterious figure had vanished without a trace. Later, when they watched the video, the friends were left in shock. None of them remembered anyone sitting there, and no one recognized the face. Spooky men. This clip was captured on 12th of December, 4 years ago. An Uber driver was waiting for a passenger when he captured something unsettling on the road. A shirtless man was standing there, and suddenly he leaned back, staring backward with his mouth wide open. Then he began to move his feet while staying in the same spot, shaking his body. It seemed as if he was not fully conscious. Out of fear, the driver drove away from the scene, leaving the man behind in an unnerving situation. Giant security guards. A bizarre video went viral back in 2023, showing a woman guarded by two giant security guards. They had distorted faces, unnaturally long arms and legs, and oversized hands. It seemed as if the woman they were guarding was their master, and they looked not even human. A bystander recorded the scene and shared it on TikTok, leaving viewers completely baffled. Someone is downstairs. She had heard something from upstairs and came down expecting to find a door swinging or something knocked over, the kind of thing houses do at night that always has a simple answer. What was standing in the room at the bottom of the stairs had no simple answer. A solid dark figure, completely still, not reacting to her presence, not adjusting, not acknowledging that someone was now standing a few feet away looking directly at it. She stood there and it gave her nothing back. Yonkers standstill. The man nearly walked past it without stopping, which is understandable because at first glance it looked like a person pausing on the pavement. But people pausing mid-step on a Yonkers sidewalk do not hold that position without shifting their weight, adjusting their balance, or showing any visible sign of the muscular effort that staying upright requires. This figure had one foot lifted off the ground, body tilted forward, completely locked in a position that a human being cannot physically sustain for more than a few seconds without wobbling. It had been holding it considerably longer than that. Caught on live TV.
Gender, do you think women would react to that?
Hillary Clinton was mid-conversation aboard her campaign plane, completely composed, the way someone is when they have done thousands of interviews and know exactly how to occupy a camera frame. Then she blinked, her right eye reopened, looking nothing like the left one. Two eyes belonging to two entirely different faces suddenly sharing the same one, for just long enough that the footage caught it before everything snapped back to normal, and she kept talking without a single pause. Nobody in that cabin reacted.
Secretary Clinton, Donald Trump said the way he kept interrupting and the way he answered the question about gender, do you think women would react to that?
During live performance, Doja Cat was in the middle of a live performance, tens of thousands of people in front of her, when her face stopped making complete sense. The skin around her jaw pulled in a direction that human musculature does not pull under any natural circumstance. Her eyes had gone dark and flat, carrying none of the energy that a performer genuinely present in a moment produces without effort. And through all of it, the smile sat completely still, fixed in position while everything around it shifted, never adjusting the way a smile adjusts when it belongs to a face that is actually feeling something. A live stage is the hardest possible environment to hold something like that together in. Look at her eyes. There are moments in interview footage that last less than a second and still manage to surface something that a full hour of questioning never would. Britney Spears was mid-sentence, answering something routine, when her pupils stretched and the whites of her eyes caught the light in a way that had nothing to do with the question she was being asked. The shift pulled back almost immediately, correcting itself with a precision and speed that no involuntary physical response and no camera malfunction has ever replicated. Pelosi glitch.
10 states, as I said, on Friday, I started their early voting the day that we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Nancy Pelosi was sitting across from George Stephanopoulos in what should have been a routine interview when everything stopped functioning the way it was supposed to. He asked her a direct follow-up question. She paused, looked straight into the camera, and said good morning, nothing else.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Stephanopoulos sat there visibly trying to reassemble what had just happened in front of him on live television. Whatever processing usually sits behind her eyes had clearly gone somewhere else entirely. For that moment, somewhere the question couldn't reach. The internet landed on two explanations and has been arguing between them ever since. One of them involves age and cognitive fatigue. The other one involved people calling her reptilian shapeshifter. Changing eyes. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was barely a few sentences into what should have been a completely forgettable post-game interview when his pupils did something that human eyes are not built to do. The shift was brief, but the camera caught it cleanly enough that the captions spreading across every repost said the same thing each time. Peep the eye change. For an athlete at that level, with that much media exposure, there is always someone monitoring the footage, always someone with the authority and the platform to offer a simple technical explanation if one existed. Venice Beach zombie. Venice Beach runs on spectacle, and most of what happens there gets absorbed into the background noise of the place without anyone stopping to look twice. This woman was different, and the people around her registered that before any of them could articulate why. Her body moved without the logic that holds human movement together, shifting and jerking in patterns that had no conscious coordination behind them, no direction, no purpose that belonged to anything ordinary. Cloak figure. An Uber driver was waiting for a passenger on Vicar Hills, Armagh, in Northern Ireland, when his dashcam captured something unsettling. A figure with an unusual appearance, wearing a black cloak and a pointed hat, suddenly vanished into the wall of St. Patrick's Church of Ireland Cathedral, crossing the fence on the other side of the road as if it had supernatural powers to pass through solid objects. The driver, stunned by what he saw, quickly left the area. Some said he might have been the infamous Green Lady of Vickers Hill. What do you think about this video? Let me know in the comments section. Terrifying smile. Back in 2022, a Toronto commuter filmed something creepy that left him startled. He was traveling in a bus which was waiting for the signal to turn green, and suddenly he noticed a creepy woman-like face peering at the bus from a nearby house. What made the video particularly chilling was her unsettling smile and intense, fixed stare at him. The footage later circulated online, with many viewers speculating that the woman was an otherworldly being, raising questions about why a normal human stares and smiles at strangers for so long. Midnight creepy encounter. One midnight, a group of friends was traveling to Teluk Bahang, Malaysia, when they spotted a strange female figure dressed in pink walking beside the road. At first, they ignored it, but the figure appeared again a few seconds later. The driver sped up, yet the figure appeared on the road 3 times. Suddenly, it emerged right in front of the car, causing the driver to reverse quickly, and the video abruptly ended. This mysterious encounter left them wondering, was it a witch or something even more sinister? What do you think it could have been? Bizarre saluting girl. Recently, a strange incident was reported at a laundromat in Fresno, California. A woman was behaving oddly in the store, which concerned the shopkeeper, so she called the police. The woman kept saluting something invisible. When the officers arrived, they tried to question her. At first, she did not respond, but when they asked for her ID, she told them it was on the table while still continuing to salute.
Can I just see your license really quick, please?
It's on the table.
It's on the table?
The officers suspected she might be under the influence of some kind of medication, especially since she refused to have her blood tested. They arrested her and took her to the police station. Her case is still in court, and no one knows why she was behaving that way.
1101 with the J5.
Dogman. A man from Honshu, Japan, had dreamed of becoming a dog since childhood, so he decided to turn that dream into reality. He spent 2 million yen on a custom-made dog costume and began wandering the streets to experience life like a dog. The costume was perfectly designed, with realistic fur and a lifelike head, making him look like a real dog. The strange thing was that after fulfilling his own dream, he decided to rent out the costume so others could also fulfill their dream of becoming a dog. Strange door knock. One night in Oklahoma, US, a doorbell camera recorded a disturbing incident. A stranger approached the house, tried to open the door, said something strange to the camera, then banged on the door before the video abruptly cut off. When the homeowner went to check, no one was outside. After watching the CCTV footage, he reported the incident to the police, who informed him that the man in the video was one of their most wanted criminals. Railway encounter. One evening, a passenger was traveling by train from Westlake to Decatur in Georgia when he captured something strange on camera. A man sitting nearby suddenly began acting erratically. He grabbed the pole and started jerking his body as if he were trying to pull it off. He had long blonde hair and a blonde French beard, along with a noticeably long face. To this day, no explanation has been confirmed, and the man has never been identified. Scary experience. On 27th of June, back in 2019, a strange moment was captured on camera while a man was playing a video game on his PlayStation, and his sister peeked at him through the door. She slowly came inside, and suddenly her face looked strange as she jerked his chair. Disturbed by her actions, he stood from his chair and asked what had happened, but she stood there motionless, as if she had not done anything at all. He grabbed her by the shoulders and shook her, after which she went downstairs. When this video went viral, viewers brushed it off as a hoax. Creepy headless. In Moscow, Russia, a man was driving along a road when he noticed a strange figure walking on the pavement. What made the video creepy was that the man appeared to have no head on his shoulders. The figure walked normally, but the driver was terrified by this menacing sight. Out of curiosity, he zoomed a little closer and then stepped on the accelerator, speeding away in fear. Later, when the video surfaced online, viewers debated what had really happened. Many suggested that the opposite side of the road was very dark, and the man's head blended into the darkness, making him invisible on camera. In this way, the cameraman unintentionally, or perhaps deliberately, misled viewers. Unstable train man. This footage was recorded back almost 2 years ago on a crowded train and left passengers truly terrified. A man suddenly collapsed onto the floor, face down, and began moving erratically. His head jerked from side to side, and he made harsh, rasping sounds that echoed through the train. After several seconds, he stood up and continued those same unnatural movements. Passengers thought he might be mentally unstable. Experts who later viewed the clip suggested it could have been a severe psychological episode. Uninvited guest. An unusual incident took place in Houston, Texas, 2 years ago. A man was watching a TV show with his family when someone suddenly rang the doorbell and tried to open the door. When he went to check and opened it, he found a woman standing there without any pants on. He asked her why she was there, and she insisted that it was her house. When he told her that the house did not belong to her, she refused to believe him.
What are you doing?
I'm not allowed to be here.
This is not your house.
It is.
She appeared to be intoxicated, so he called 911. However, by the time the police arrived, the woman had already left. The man showed them the CCTV footage, and the officers told him that the woman had been missing for a month and they had been searching for her. They thanked him for providing such an important clue and immediately began searching the area to find her.
What are you doing?
Hi.
What are you doing?
Hello.
Strange teleportation.
Normal.
A music band was being interviewed on a street in Penza, Russia, when something strange was captured on camera. Suddenly, a cyclist appeared behind one of the band members, rode his bicycle for a short distance, and then disappeared again, as if he had been teleported from somewhere else. The band members were shocked when they watched the footage and couldn't understand where he had come from or where he had gone. Was it a carefully staged trick or something far more sinister? You decide. Mysterious figure. Late at night, on a quiet street, a man glanced up at a window in a building he was passing and caught a dark figure moving slowly behind the glass. Unhurried, deliberate, passing across the frame and out of view like someone going about their evening inside. The building had been fully abandoned for nearly 2 decades with no residents, no visitors, and no authorized access of any kind recorded in all that time. Whatever was moving behind that window remains a mystery. Ritual caught on camera. The pentagram was drawn carefully on the wooden floor, the candles placed around it with equal care, and for a while after he began reading from the book, the hut stayed completely still. Then the candles started, flickering hard, falling in separate directions, going out in sequence while the lights in the room began switching on and off without anyone near the switches. Objects moved without being touched. The air in that hut changed in the way air changes when the space it fills is no longer empty. Through all of it, the man stayed exactly where he was, inside the pentagram, calm and still, continuing to read until everything around him finally settled. Headless charpoy. An Indian village at night is not a place where most people expect to find something sitting alone on a charpoy in the dark that stops them completely. The figure was dressed in white and red, sitting upright, with something held out in front of it as though it were reading, posture focused, and still in the way a person gets when they are deep in a book. Then the detail that made the person watching from a distance take several steps back registered. There was no head, nothing above the shoulders, just a headless figure sitting alone in the dark on a wooden bed, holding something it had no eyes to read and no mind. Gainesville Creeper. 7 in the morning in Gainesville, Florida, and he was outside having a smoke when the feeling arrived before he had any visual to attach it to. The specific, undeniable feeling of being watched from behind. He turned around and found a pale face looking out at him through his own window, pale enough to immediately rule out every member of his household, all of whom have dark skin. He went inside to check and found the house completely empty. Nobody near that window, nobody anywhere in the building, nothing disturbed, nothing moved. White dress walker. 3:25 in the morning, and the camera caught something moving through a residential area that did not move the way people move. Tall, slender, dressed in a long white dress, gliding across the ground with a smoothness that walking does not produce, covering the space between the trees with a steadiness that had no footfall behind it. Then the sound came, a piercing wail cutting through the quiet of that hour, coming from the direction of the figure as it drifted steadily through the dark and disappeared behind the trees. In Latin American folklore, the Llorona, a weeping woman in white. Creepy woman. The noises from outside had been enough to pull the farmer in Mexico away from whatever he was doing and send him out to check the yard. The storeroom door was already open when it should have been shut, which was the first thing wrong with the night. He stepped closer and looked inside, and a pair of glowing eyes in the dark of that room found him immediately, locking onto him the moment he appeared in the doorway, with a directness that registered before his mind had finished processing what he was seeing. He ran. He did not look back, and he did not stop. Nobody on that farm saw the woman again after that night.
If you are a fan of Jose d'Onfroy, this moment will surprise you. One night, a fan visited his cemetery and stood near the glass door by his resting place. As he looked closer, he noticed a face peeking out from the reflection. It looked exactly like Jose. At first, he thought it might be the reflection of pictures left by fans near the grave. To be sure, he returned the next morning and checked every photo placed there. None of them matched what he had seen the night before. That made him believe the appearance was real. For some loyal fans, it felt like he still showed special appearances. Black Ritual. A leaked footage recently surfaced online showing that graveyards are not always places of rest. A man was seen holding a cross and lighting candles while playing with a toy that made strange sounds. The person recording the scene panned the camera to a nearby grave and froze. A pale figure was sitting there, completely still, as if it were used to the surroundings. Things grew even more terrifying when the camera revealed a picture of a woman already placed on the grave. It became clear that a black magic ritual was taking place, and the pale figure was a demon invited for dark purposes. It's shocking to think that some people can go this extreme to harm anyone. Phantom Soldiers. A man visiting Gettysburg decided to record the historic battlefield, unaware of what he might capture. As he panned his camera across the open field, two figures suddenly appeared, running swiftly across the road. At first, he thought it might be other tourists, but the figures were semi-transparent and moved in a way that didn't match any living person. The footage shocked viewers online, as Gettysburg is known for being one of the most haunted sites in America. Many believe these were spirits of soldiers who never left the battlefield. Watching the video, it feels like the past is running right in front of us. Rising graves. For years, this graveyard had been reported for disturbing activity. A team of paranormal investigators entered at night to document what was happening. As they walked between the graves, they noticed a hand slowly rising from the soil, as if a body was trying to come out. When they moved closer, the hand vanished.
Aqui, ó, pinga, cara do céu.
Meu Deus do céu! Tem negócio branco.
Qual?
Moments later, cloth lifted from another grave and slipped back inside. Fear began to grow. Then pale feet appeared from a third grave, but when they checked, the grave was empty. That moment was enough for them to run for their lives. Later, locals revealed a satanic ritual had taken place there days earlier, disturbing the graves. After that, special prayers were performed to help the souls rest, and the activity finally stopped.
Que é aquilo? Ai, meu Deus do céu.
Meu Deus do céu, cara.
Ai, meu Deus, tem uma mão ali. Tem uma mão ali. Tem uma mão ali.
Cursed doll. A man visited a graveyard after seeing his mother sad in a dream. On her grave, he noticed a baby doll sitting there and thought someone had left it behind. But as he filmed, the doll's eyes seemed to follow his camera. The chilling part came next. It had tiny Dracula-like teeth, and beside it was a feeder filled not with milk, but a red liquid. The man immediately realized something sinister was happening. After finishing the recording, he contacted a priest, who revealed the grave had been used in black magic against his wife. The priest prayed a ritual and broke the curse. Well, truly a terrifying encounter that too, seeing at your mother's grave. Hide and seek. A girl visited her sister's grave and was shocked to see a white mist coming from it. She followed the mist, noticing it appear and disappear repeatedly. Soon, she remembered how her sister loved to play hide and seek when they were together. It became clear that the mist was her sister, playfully hiding and showing herself, just like she used to. That gentle presence wasn't frightening. It was a memory brought to life. In that moment, the girl felt her sister's love and spirit, realizing that even beyond life, small joys and connections can still find a way to reach us. Trapped soul. This is one of the scariest videos currently going viral on the internet. A family who had just lost a loved one asked the staff to set up a camera to capture the final moments. At first, everything seemed normal, but then something terrifying appeared. The soul of the person moved inside the body, even though it no longer belonged there. For a brief moment, it stepped out, only to return, looking disturbed and unsettled. Many believe something darker has taken control. It seemed like the soul was trapped between two worlds, neither fully gone nor fully present, struggling to break free. Cursed grave. Some places are avoided for a reason, and this graveyard was one of them. A man visiting the area late in the evening suddenly heard loud screaming sounds coming from one grave. As he moved closer, he noticed the grave was slightly open, and the cries were clear and disturbing. Shocked, he left the place and later informed the caretaker. What made it worse was the caretaker's confirmation. He said the same screaming sounds were heard from that grave almost every day. Locals believe the grave holds a trapped soul, suffering endlessly, as if it never found peace. Angry witch. A group of friends accepted a dare and entered a cemetery late at night. As they moved deeper between the graves, the mood changed. Near an old tomb, a lone woman stood in a dark robe. Her face was hidden by long hair, and a low, disturbing sound came from her direction. One friend tried to speak to her. That was a mistake. The woman turned sharply, her voice growing louder and angry. The group ran back without looking behind. It felt less like fear and more like they had interrupted a witch who didn't want visitors. Cemetery trap. A team of ghost hunters decided to explore a cemetery at night, documenting their adventure on camera. At first, everything seemed normal, until one of them stepped into a freshly dug grave to get a better angle. Suddenly, something invisible grabbed his shirt and pulled him down. He struggled and managed to get out. But the nightmare didn't end there. While describing the terrifying event on camera, an unseen force dragged him backward. After that night, none of them dared return. The cemetery had shown them it didn't welcome intruders.